Liverpool FC is hard as hell. United, Tottenham, Arsenal. Watch my list.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are watching from. Sensational news yesterday from Spain, where Xabi Alonso and Real Madrid have parted company. So we are going to have a look in this video at what has happened to Xabi Alonso and Real Madrid and what this might mean for Liverpool FC. Okay, now we'll just do a quick summary of Xabi Alonso's very short career as the manager of Real Madrid. Now, on Sunday, a few things happened which I think proved to be the straw that broke the camel's back. I watched the game with a couple of relatives of mine, my uncle and my cousin, and what was absolutely clear from the game was that Real Madrid was struggling to get the ball off Barcelona. Okay, so it was Yamal, it was Lewandowski, it was Rafinha, it was Pedri, and they gained 70% possession. Sometimes it was more than that during certain phases of the game. And I think this is quite embarrassing for a club like Real Madrid, where every single team that they lay out is normally worth between 800 million and £1 billion. So they simply could not get the ball off them. And the goals that they scored were about individual brilliance rather than tactical nuance from Xavi Alonso. So I think he had a very difficult afternoon. Additionally, something happened after the game that was caught on camera. It is quite difficult to know exactly what happened because obviously the manager does not have a microphone on him. The players do not have microphones on their shirts. But it does look like at the end of the game, Xabi Alonso was encouraging his Real Madrid players to make a guard of honor for the Barcelona team as a show of respect. And it looks like Kylian Mbappe stepped in and persuaded his teammates not to do this, perhaps because he considered it to be humiliating. And who did they listen to? They listened to Mbappe. The guard of honor was not completed, and perhaps this was also a factor in showing Xabi Alonso how little respect he seems to have in this very ego-filled billionaire superstar dressing room, which is Real Madrid. Now, in terms of the football itself, what we can say about Alonso is that he leaves the club, I think, with his reputation mostly intact. He managed 34 games for Real Madrid. He won 24 of those 34 games, which gives him a win rate of 71%, which is the fourth highest in the history of Real Madrid. On the downside, it is the sixth shortest reign of any manager in the history of Real Madrid, with the shortest reign being Jose Camacho, who was the Real Madrid manager for, believe it or not, 22 days in 1998. I think I was in college at the time. I remember it vaguely. And then, of course, our own Rafa Benitez was the manager for only 215 days, which was the fifth highest or the fifth lowest number of days as Real Madrid manager. So that is the career of Xavi Alonso at Real Madrid. A very bad ending, a bit of a hammering from Barcelona, but I think overall his reputation, I would say it generally stays intact as he moves forward from here. Now, I'm just going to do a very short comparison between Xavi Alonso and Arne Slot. It is not going to be an in-depth analysis. My last video was about 17 minutes, so this one will be quite a bit shorter. But if we just look at Xavi Alonso and we look at Arne Slot, because this is really what Liverpool fans have been talking about over the last 12 hours or so. Now, if we look at the two managers, they are at relatively similar stages in their career in that they are quite young managers. They are in their early 40s, and therefore you can see that they probably would be managers perhaps for the next 15 to 20 years if everything goes well. Now, if we have a look at the reputation of the two men, what I would say to you is that both men have won league titles already. Okay, so I would say that out of the two league titles that they won, I would say Germany is a more impressive league to win for Xavi Alonso, in the sense that he is fighting against Bayern Munich, which earns two, sometimes three times the turnover of any other club in Germany. Okay, so for Leverkusen to win the title against Bayern Munich in Germany, I think it is more impressive than Feyenoord winning the Dutch league. But then Slot now has a Premier League to his name. which I think puts him in a situation where, on the face of it, his CV at least looks better than the CV of Xabi Alonso at the moment. But it is obviously early days in their careers. So, in terms of where we are at the moment, Alonso has just been fired, and therefore he might want a few weeks off. The other issue is that this is not the worst. This is not the worst period of Arne Slot's career, because we had a terrible autumn at Liverpool where we got hammered by Forest, we got hammered by PSV, we got knocked out of the League Cup by Crystal Palace, and therefore he has made a minor recovery. So he is 10 games unbeaten at the moment. Okay, so in terms of stock, historic stock, I would say they're pretty much even. Young managers at the beginning of their careers with 2 or 3 major trophies each, so it's been a reasonable start for both of them. But I think it is very, very important to understand the philosophy of Liverpool Football Club, even though a lot of Liverpool fans yesterday understandably were saying, get Slot out and get Alonso in. But I don't think it's quite as simple as that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give you a few advantages and a few disadvantages, okay, as to whether or not Arne Slot should be fired for the incoming Xabi Alonso. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give you 3 advantages and 3 disadvantages. I've just realized I look like Jose Mourinho. Anyway, 3 advantages and 3 disadvantages of removing Arne Slot immediately and bringing Xabi Alonso in. Now let's look at 3 advantages first, then we'll look at the disadvantages. Now, number 1 is that Xabi Alonso has won the Bundesliga in a very spectacular fashion. Leverkusen acquired 90 points from 35 games, and Bayern Munich were left in 3rd place on 72 points. So this is an incredible achievement that is on Xabi Alonso's CV. Now, number 2 is that he is immediately available because of yesterday's departure from Real Madrid, which should make it easier to negotiate with him if necessary. And number 3 is that he would not take much time to earn a place in the Liverpool hearts because he is, of course, a former player. He was, of course, the man who scored the equalizer in the famous game in Istanbul in the Champions League final in 2005. So now let's look at the disadvantages of sacking Arne Slot at the moment, okay? So we'll do 3, Jose Mourinho time again. We will do 3 disadvantages, and here they are. Number 1 is Liverpool is a football club with a history of over 100 years. And I don't think they have ever sacked a manager the season after he won the league. I haven't checked it, but I'm 99.9% sure that Liverpool have never sacked a manager the season after he won the league. Number 2. Now, the second disadvantage could be the fact that Arne Slot and his supporters, because I think he still has quite a few, judging by what I've read online, not as many as he did, but he still has some. They will say that we bought so many players in the summer, we spent so much money, the team then struggled, and now he is rebuilding. He's 10 games unbeaten. He has stabilized the team, and they are conceding less goals. They are acquiring the odd clean sheet, which they weren't doing in the autumn. So therefore, the team are 10 unbeaten and heading in the right direction. Number 3 advantage of keeping Arne Slot at the moment is simply the fact that Liverpool have this famous philosophy of you'll never walk alone. And I think that they want to be seen, to preserve their reputation, they want to be seen as a club that gives managers opportunities to perhaps have a difficult period and then give them the time to recover and rebuild. This is part of the philosophy of Liverpool Football Club, and they would not perhaps want to be seen in the same light as Real Madrid after what we saw yesterday. So I've given you 3 advantages, 3 disadvantages. So let me know in the comments what you would do. Would you bring in Xabi Alonso immediately, or would you give Arne Slot more time to continue his rebuild?
You gotta learn if you live in the pool.